feel that teachers expect their students to be on time, be prepared, be willing to learn. As a student's job, I feel like that's a student's job, to show up, be present, and be willing to put the work in.
Sort of a tough question because it's like general, and each teacher has their own expectations, and some are more than others. It feels a lot of times like teachers expect you to treat their class as if it's the only thing you have to do in your entire life. Not every teacher, of course, but I do get that a lot where it's, if you overlook some little thing, they tend to get kind of offended as if, but when you're doing like 10 other things and you're working and you're taking like 3 other classes, it's just not always realistic. So I guess they expect a lot would be the answer to some degree, especially when the teacher's really picky about exactly how they want the page number or the name or like the things set up that you turn in, and they mark you down for little things like that and not the content. I really hate those kind of expectations. I think the content is what's most important. Well, I mean, of course, that's more applied to like writing. I mean, a math question is either wrong or it's right. But at the same time, even in math, if you make an effort, if you get through the first 3 steps of the formula and mess up the other 2, that should count for something. I mean, the fact that you tried and that you made an effort, and whether your name was on the right or the left side is, I think they should be a little more concerned with the content.
I think the aspect of me is be responsible, especially work in group, and sharing ideas, and get good grade. Be successful in the test.
I think my teacher expects me to really immerse myself in the material that he's trying to teach. That's basically what I think he teaches. I think that's basically what they should be expecting of me. For the most part, teachers at community colleges have actually had a passion for teaching the material usually. I think I remember one teacher, my speech class teacher, said he had job offers at private schools, and he turned them down because he wanted to teach in the public sector. So usually they're in it because they have a passion for doing it.
Well, I think first of all they expect us to be on time and attend every class and be a good listeners. And what they should expect any weird question, because students ask so many questions and they should be ready to answer them all.
I expect from my teacher to have the openness to connect with their students, because sometimes I've had an experience where I've been in a classroom and the teacher's like kind of talking at the students and no one's really understanding. No one's really getting it. It's not that like they don't have that passion to help someone actually learn. They're just like feeding you, throwing you stuff, and it's kind of up to you. So, that as a student, that is your job it's your job to obtain it, but there's no like extra like, do you need any help, or any type of, I'm paying all this money, I want some more, I want you to really like work with me sometimes.
To be concise when they ask, like in instructions, like the people we were just dealing with, I mean, it's sort of an offhand example, but they're trying to look at their teacher's instructions, they don't know what they want, and that's really frustrating when, you're trying to get an A and you're trying to do your best, and I think you got to keep it simple. If they put too many explanations in the instructions of why they're writing the instructions that way, it's just going to throw people off. Just a very basic, okay, do this, do that, do this, step 1 through 10, or whatever they want, as concise as possible.
That's a good question. Okay, first of all, English is my second language. I expect from them they understand me and be a passion with me, because I want to successful, and some teacher may be frustrated with people with different culture, so that's what I want from them. Like, I hope so they can understand people with different language. You know what English is first.
To really, I guess, really challenge the students, not make it easy. Um, that same speech class, it's something that I'm personally afraid of, public speaking. And because of that, 3 hours in a period go by so fast. Before I know it, it's already time to go. And it's because I'm being challenged. I'm really being challenged. And so I guess that's really something that makes a better student. It's just a teacher that will challenge the student.
Well, the first thing I would expect is they should know the practical part of the question. I mean, they should know how can we use the knowledge we have, the knowledge we get from them. And those are the first questions I ask my teachers.
I'm very optimistic, so I would like to believe that I can, but I've taken all my classes, and they absolutely do not work for me. They give me too much freedom, and I like a little bit more structure while I'm, doing my schedule. And yeah, as long as I can have a connection with the teacher, they're passionate about the information that they're giving the students, and they're actually have passion about helping people learn and understand. I feel like that's good.
I do, yeah. Some are definitely harder than others, though. And a big part of it is kind of figuring out the ins and outs of the teacher and how they do things. Once you get that down, you can be successful, but there is like a period of feeling the teacher out. Okay, how picky are they going to be about this, or how cool are they going to be about that? What do they prefer in even a writing style? Some teachers you can think it's the most brilliant thing you've ever written, and they just see it completely differently. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can. I think I can because I'm studying hard. I try my best. And I try to know fair to the class. I try to be open. Open.
I think that no, I can't because there are some subjects. It's not because I'm physically unable to. It's because again, sometimes when you're not being challenged or you're not being stimulated, you just sit there and you kind of let things just happen, and you end up your grade suffers because of it. So I guess yes and no. But.
Well, so far I had troubles only with language stuff because of the ESL. I'm an ESL student. That's the only barrier I have so far.
My ideal teacher would be someone who's passionate about what they're teaching, what information, and actually know the information, and are passionate about what they're teaching.
Ideal teacher. I don't know. It's tough. I guess the ideal teacher, like I said, is concise about what they want, but also answers questions without acting like they're dumb or it's interrupting them. I mean, there is a certain degree where you raise your hand too many times, and yeah, you're interrupting the whole class. But I think if a teacher can kind of work on the fly and maybe even tailor their lecture to what's been asked and what people want to know, as opposed to just being really rigid about their lesson plan and interacting with the students as more of a conversation in a way. I don't know if that's the perfect teacher, but that's what I like in a teacher.
I'm my ideal teacher. I want a teacher, a fun teacher. I like a teacher that have discipline, but at the same time has to the class very comfortable for everybody. Fun, but not too fun because that's not. I don't want anybody. I want to the student respect teacher, but expect the fun class.
The ideal teacher is, again, a teacher that challenges their students, finds the things that they're most afraid to learn, and teaches it to them. Obviously, a teacher can't do everything, but just presents the things that they are afraid of so that they can grow in them.
I've met several ideal teachers. My ideal would be and very knowledgeable, very friendly, and willing to help.
Yes. One of my biggest fears is that, not to say that I am, but sometimes I question if I'm spending all this money and I'll be able to get a job. And just seeing my friends graduate, I question, will I be working for the rest of my life a 9 to 5 because I can't find a job to pay off these loans that I have taken out to get this education, and I can't find a job.
Yeah, I think everybody does. Of course, like due dates and getting things done. Again, it goes back to that pleasing thing. If they have too many weird little rules and they're too specific about things, that can really freak you out because you're thinking, wow, I wrote this great essay, but I put my name on the wrong side, so I might get a B when I know I deserve an A. That definitely makes me anxiety. And then not being able, I mean, I know there's like a limit on absences, but people get sick. And teachers have to be able to respond an email and maybe at least try to give you the same credit that you're still making an effort even though you couldn't be there at that particular moment. I mean, of course, if you're always absent, you never do anything, that's different, but...
Actually, yes. Especially the day before at the test. Especially. Yeah, and sometimes when we were in a group, because I don't know if I give the wrong answer to my group, or maybe they give me the wrong answer and the whole group fell down. So that's it.
I think the biggest anxiety that I've experienced has been asking questions. I guess it's mostly the environment that the teacher, maybe inadvertently, sometimes on purpose, sets up. Sometimes there's a fear that he or she might create, sometimes without knowing, in asking questions. Maybe they're afraid of being ostracized for asking a dumb question or something like that. That's usually the biggest anxiety, though. And grades do suffer because of it. You're afraid to ask a question, and you fall further and further behind.
The highest level of anxiety was in the first semester. After 10 years of being at home, I went back to school, so that was the first thing I had to encounter. But then, with so many helping teachers, so many resources here, I got used to being in school again.
I feel like on a college level, it's pretty much the students' role to make sure that you're having guidance. But as a professor, I feel like the professor should be willing to sometimes have meet the student outside of class. A lot of professors do have office hours and online. They're constantly being able, you can email them whenever you need, and they'll get back to you within a couple of hours. And yeah, it's pretty much guidelines. The syllabus is always important. It frustrates me when teachers give me a syllabus and then they don't follow it. So it's just okay, I'll study, and then oh, we're not going to do that. So I'm I just study, I just read all these chapters, and we're not going to go over it. It's kind of like a miscommunication, kind of. So when I have a professor who, this is the syllabus, we might go off task, but they actually let you know if they're going to, and I have answers like that, open communication, and I feel like that's a great teacher. So.
How much? Well, I mean, that's kind of their job, right? I mean, they should definitely be knowledgeable on the subject itself. And then, as long as they're clear about what they want from you, when you turn in the assignments, I mean, that's good enough. I mean, there's a certain degree that you kind of have to figure out on your own, especially if you're doing research or something. I mean, that's kind of what tutors are for.
Good. That's the one I say.
I think enough to really present the material, to present the challenges, but obviously the teacher can't do everything. But I guess just enough to present the challenges.
The question is that it has to be enough to go on, but not too much. Because when the guidance is too much, you never learn. You have to do yourself, but some guidance should be there.
is a good one. I feel like none that personally affect me, but I know there are stereotypes. Like as women, you're supposed to like go to school, and there's a stereotype for men, especially like minority men, that they're not supposed to go. They're not going to go to school. They're just supposed to be an athlete or some sort. So when they actually do go to school, it's kind of like surprise. And as far as I have Asian friends, and I know their parents put a lot of pressure on them to be in school and to be like get straight A's, and they're like, you know, they're human too. That, you know, that's just like a stereotype. Like, you know, I really have to try hard, just as hard as anyone else. Just I'm not gonna just get it. Those are like, I don't know, those stereotypes that I've come across in my experience with friends. But personally, I haven't really had any stereotypes affect me.
Socioeconomic, I think, is an issue because some teachers will be like, oh yeah, because this is just an example that I dealt with. Go to this museum and you'll get extra credit. Well, I need gas to get there, and the ticket to the museum is $12. And then if I want to have lunch while I'm there, I mean, that's like a $50, $60 trip, so I'm paying for that extra credit in some sense. As much as I love to go to the museum, I think teachers, when they give assignments or whatever it is, extra credit, have to think about, it shouldn't cost me a ton of money to do this. I know there's certain classes that actually have caps on that because it's really not fair if I don't have as much money as the next guy and I still have to come up with the same thing. You know, like a fancy report cover and all this different kind of stuff. I mean, I remember being younger and being in college when computers weren't as prevalent and everything had to be on PowerPoint or typed, and it's like, I mean, even stuff not being handwritten threw me off for a while. It's like, I couldn't afford a computer for many years. You got to think about how much it's going to cost a student to actually finish something. I don't know if a lot of teachers do that. I think they kind of forget.
No.
From what I've experienced, no, or not this far at least. And I'm actually pretty proud to say that. So.
All right.
Not here. I haven't met any stereotypes here. The only thing, when you're an ESL student, the language is a very, very hard barrier to go on. And the only thing I met here was the language barrier.